All right. So I'm going to tell stories because I tell stories. I was probably 11 or 12. I was like a latchkey kid when I was growing up. So I walked home from school and I would lock myself in my house until my parents got home. It's not as sad as it sounds. There was a television and things, whatever. But the main drag that I had to walk home down was called Clark Road. And then I don't remember much about the walk other than there was another road that was attached to Clark, just a little side street called Miles Lane. And I remember Miles Lane because one day I was walking home and it was a Friday and somebody was having a garage sale and there was like this one of those Day-Glow pink poster boards on a stake at the corner of Clark and Miles, and it said on it, garage sale, 300 miles, and it had an arrow. And I think that's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't care if it was intentional or not. That's just objectively hilarious. And I think it's just the basis of all of my sense of humor for the rest of my life. So what I'm saying is, if you don't think that story is funny, this show may not be for you. I could use a touch more of the guitar over here. I know, I'm gonna be picky. Well, meanwhile, in the Garden of Eden, there's a serpent weeping, realizing what he's done. Well, goddamn, now they're gonna hate snakes forever. And he looks at the woman, says they won't like you too much either. Oh, man. And meanwhile, this guy says to another guy, I got this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Well, I know these Romans think we're dangerous, feed us to lions and such, but I believe he's more than just a man. Yeah. Well, meanwhile, your daughter's goldfish died, and she's crying, asking why there's gotta be these facts to life. And meanwhile, someone's beating on a pulpit, and they're singing like they've lost it. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Meanwhile, oh, maybe there's a heaven that's full of goldfish, lions, and Romans, and one apologetic serpent. But meanwhile, wow, we're hating snakes forever. We ought to learn to love each other. Maybe say it all together. Amen. 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 So, my family, we're a little different in a lot of ways. Let me tell you about Christmas at our house. This last Christmas, we actually have Christmas on New Year's because we got to get everybody together and run a Christmas business that I'll talk about in a second. So we have to wait until New Year's. So we're all getting together at New Year's for Christmas, and we're talking about various things. And as an example of the way that my family talks to each other, the subject of Disneyland came up, which happens. But anytime we talk about Disneyland, we have to talk about my mom's funeral arrangements. See, because my mom, she wants her ashes to be spread at the happiest place on earth, which is Disneyland. And it turns out that that is not an uncommon desire. And Disneyland really does not want you to do that. My brother did some reading about it. Apparently they have like a whole security force specifically devoted to keeping people from leaving ashes at Disneyland. So they have staff and HEPA vacuum cleaners and everything. And so I heard this, and I'm trying to convince my mom that it's, you know, it's not, all hope is not lost as long as she's okay with possibly her funeral arrangements maybe involving me throwing a handful of her mortal remains into a security guard's eyes as a diversion. And she's like, well, maybe you could spread me at Kerrville instead, because that's the other happiest place on earth. And then I was thinking, well, you know, every year I'm at the festival and all that wind-blown caliche dust, and I just think about how much of it that I inhale, and I'm like, Mom, we'll make Disneyland work. Well, you know, I'd rather be scattered than smothered and covered. Y'all spread my ashes at a Waffle House and be good to each other. And you can visit every Sunday morning on your way to church. And there's this spot by the window where the sun comes in just so I won't need a lot of space, just a dash in that flower vase, and they're plastic, so you don't have to worry about them changing me out. So let us pray that what we order comes out that way, and if it don't, we won't complain, because maybe she's had a hard day. See, I'd rather be scattered than smothered and covered. Y'all spread my ashes in this Waffle House and be good to each other. And you can visit every Sunday morning on your way into church. I'm not normally the kind of person to pull out my phone in the middle of a show, but it's part of the show, so just chill. I meant to put it like on a nice pad of paper, and then I forgot because it's South by and there's a lot going on. So, hold please while I look up some of these things. So I mentioned that I have a Christmas business. I think that this will be perfectly fitting. Many of the performers here today are full-time folk musicians. I can't be a full-time folk musician. I'm a full-time folk musician 10 months out of the year, but 2 months out of the year, November and December, I obviously own a business that takes kids' photos with Santa Claus. I don't know if that, if that fits my image or anything, but that's, so I'm gonna during the holidays, I keep up this journal of all the weird stuff that I see in front of me while I'm taking kids' photos with Santa Claus. If you want to be my Facebook friend during November and December, you too can read all of these things. So I'm just gonna throw you some samples. I didn't put them in any kind of an order, but I'll just read 3 of these, and you'll think maybe they're funny or not. A little boy walks up with an exaggerated gait, stiff legs and arms cocked at 90 degrees, hands held out flat and straight. His mom looks at me and says, "Oh, he's a robot today. We don't know if he's going to smile for the picture." Let's see. Sure, this one. Security came by after close to ask us if the unresponsive naked man in the bathroom was our Santa Claus. It was not, but I am intrigued as to why they asked. And then, yeah, let's just do this one. Thank you, entire family dressed in unicorn footy pajamas. Bonus, the parents weren't even in the photo. They just wore the pajamas. So anyway, you get one or two of those every single day of the Christmas season if you become my friend on Facebook or Twitter. So there you bang, there you go. Putting up numbers here at NeWorlDeli. But I don't know, like I've gotten this whole appreciation for children and their imaginations and this whole thing that like there's a smaller version of you that used to exist and will never be again. Like your imagination is never gonna quite work like that. Your whole thing is never gonna be that kind of person. So anyway, I wrote a song thinking about that and it's called Stars. Well, that was me, lying on a blanket, staring skyward, tracing constellations with my finger, knowing every story they were named for. Well, that was me, drifting off to dreams so I could wander among the planets and the gods, among the monsters, king of all the cosmos in the backyard. But now I look up at the dark, and all I see are stars, and it just breaks my heart. All I see are stars. But that was me, the mutineer pirate on the playground, tamer of the tigers in the treehouse. I wouldn't even recognize me now, but that was me. Before I started answering the questions and boarded up the windows to the kingdom and shut it all away and called it wisdom. So when I look up at the dark, well, all I see are stars, and it just breaks my heart. All I see are stars. And I don't know, but I believe that you were just like me. And you look up at the dark, and all you see are stars. All you see are stars. All you see are stars. Oh, all you see are stars. All you see are stars. And don't it break your heart? Oh, you see are stars. Thank you. I've never been to NeWorlDeli before. I have a show booked there with booked here with Terry Klein and Rachel Laban sometime in May, and I think it will be very good. I hope there are this many people there. So if you live in Austin, please catch the hint. I'm gonna do this one more song. I noticed this thing that was very common among my women friends, and I tread carefully because I know it's always dangerous when a dude starts a sentence like that. But I was noticing these objects, if they were to empty like their bag or pull their keychain out of their pocket, you would see these things. And one of these things, it looks like a cat face, like it's got ears and a little thing there. And then it's got eye holes that you put your fingers through, and the ears are like knives, and you can punch somebody with it, and it really do a lot of damage. And then my friend Maddie, she's got this thing, it looks like a hacky sack on a little chain, but really what it is a fabric-wrapped weighted steel ball on a little chain. And if you swing it, it'll crack somebody's skull. So that's pretty inventive. And my friend Lindsay, she's more old school. She just carries a straight razor in her bra. And then, you know, there are various other things. There are little tiny pistols and cans of caustic chemicals. And many times these objects are either pink or purple because that's the color of things that they market to women for some stupid reason. But, and they tend to market these particular objects to women. And of course they market them for self-defense. But they don't market these things to women as self-defense against like alien or robot attack. And they don't market them for self-defense against like wild animals. And they certainly don't market them for self-defense against other women. And it makes me so sad and so angry that these are things that have to exist in the world. Anyway, I wrote this song which is called Elephants. Thank you for listening to me. My name is Andy Delaney. Walk with a purpose through the parking lot. Keys in your knuckles cause you ain't got claws. Remembering how your daddy taught you that boys will be boys, you gotta watch your back. Sitting there drinking at the bar alone. Sharks come circle, wanna take you home. Well, better not play coy, better not be mean. Cause boys will be boys and they are fragile things. And they got names for the ones that talk back and the ones that wear those clothes. They got names for the ones that say yes and the ones that say no. Well, say, baby, why you gotta be that way? Give us a smile, you got a pretty face. Well, there are things you do and things you can't. Live quiet as a mouse in a room full of elephants. Ah, don't he look so handsome in his Sunday best? He said he's sorry, you know the rest. Shouldn't really blame him, he's just a kid. Yeah, and boys will be boys, don't call him what he is. But they got names for the ones that talk back and the ones that wear those clothes. They got names for the ones that say yes and the ones that say So, okay, so if y'all don't mind, I'm going to do another song because I planned my set very conservatively because I was really scared I was going to talk too much and run over like I did at Swerva. I noticed too, don't worry. So I'm going to play this song I wrote for my grandmother. So my grandma, she lived to be 96 years old, that's an achievement. And we were very close for my whole life. But she developed dementia pretty bad in about the last 8 years of her life. So she ended up forgetting who everybody in her family was, which is of course very, very sad. It wasn't all like totally bad. There was this one moment, like the last week that she was around, where she just sort of came back online for a little while. And for the first time in years, she asked about me and my brother, and she knew who my mom was for the first time in years, and it was really great. But at the same time, she also was hallucinating. And one time she was sitting in her room, and she was kind of complaining that it was raining in her room. And she's like, but don't worry, there's a rainbow. And we thought that was nice. And the nurse, I guess, suggested, that she might be seeing things. And so she got kind of sad, and she looked at my mom, and she's like, oh no, what are we gonna do? And my mom, to her credit, says back, well, I guess you're just gonna see these beautiful things, and we are not. And that seemed to make it okay. So, yeah, I don't know, I like that story a lot. It's a good response, Mom. Go, Mom. She's not here, but still gotta give her props. Anyway, so I wrote this song for my grandma. Her name was Lina. This song's called Lina. Thank you for listening to me. Lina has a time machine, keeps it hidden in her room, and she will leave without a moment's thought, never telling anyone. And her chosen destination, it isn't always clear, but maybe it's just anywhere but here. Lina has a time machine. Today she's back in 34. And she hasn't had her children yet. So how could she know who they are? And everyone gets so upset they don't understand a thing about Lina and her time machine. Lina has a time machine. Still they call them her good days. When she wakes up there at Oxford Glen, and she sees herself this way. So can you really blame her for sneaking off to find somewhere she's never lost her true love for her mind? Lina has a time machine. Lina has a time machine. Oh, Lina has a time machine. Thank y'all very much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.